thank you for tuning in. This is Matt Santos of The Mile High Show. I really got to work on my time management. It's been a busy few weeks. Anyway, this one was recorded a few weeks ago at Big Pine Comedy Festival in Flagstaff, Arizona. That is an annual festival, takes place in September of every year. We recorded live at the Green Room in Flagstaff with my guests Joe Gangemi, Jason Thornton, and Andy Steinberg. Links to their social media, their websites, and the like are in the show notes. Check out Andy at spearsburg.com, where he does a podcast with Aries Spears. Joe Gangemi's got his Facebook in there. Jason Thornton does as well. Joe's got a podcast. Anyway, go to the show notes, take a look at it, and sit back, enjoy our conversation, talking comedy and memories of how we got interested in comedy, and some great shows, some bad shows. Both Jason and Joe have some great stories about the Comedy Store in L.A. So sit back and listen. Hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed or I enjoyed anyway, recording it and spending another year at Big Pine Comedy Festival 2019. Now, if you check out bigpinecomedyfestival.org, you can make plans for attending Big Pine 2020. That will be taking place Wednesday, September 16th, 2020 through Sunday, September 20th, 2020. It is a lot of fun, some great shows, some great showcases and headliner shows, as well as a ton of free content like this episode, number 217 of the Mile High Show. A lot of great podcasts happening up at Big Pine. So check them out. For those of you local in the Prescott, Arizona area, a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind about if you are comedy and storytelling fans. The Raven Cafe. Find them at Raven Cafe on Facebook, and also the secondary group there, Talent Night at the Raven Cafe, the only mixed open mic in Prescott, the third Thursday of every month at the Raven. It's a lot of fun. Stop in. You never know who you're going to see up there. It is a lot of fun. The third Thursday of every month at the Raven. Information on Facebook or at ravencafe.com. Also, the third Wednesday of every month, a brand new showcase for the written word. AZ Wordsmiths Prose Open Mic, Stories That Matter at the Elks Theater. You can find them on Facebook as well. Wordsmiths is what you're looking for. AZ Wordsmiths or the Elks Theater calendar. So check those out. It is a different type of event than most of the folks in Prescott are used to seeing. There's a ton of music open mics. These are 2 monthly shows that feature spoken word and written word. So check them out and enjoy my conversation with Joe Gangemi, Andy Steinberg, and Jason Thornton live from Big Pine in Flagstaff. Well, thanks for tuning in. This is Matt Santos of the Mile High Show, coming from you from higher than a mile. We're at 7,000 feet in Flagstaff for the Big Pine Comedy Festival 2019, a live show. This is going to be fun. I enjoy doing these live shows because it gets me out of the house and forces me to put pants on. Since there is no video on this, we do want to acknowledge the 216 ticketed audience members here. Yes. So thank you for showing up.
Guys. Nice.
It's jam-packed.
Crushing.
We have a house of Matts here today. My name is Matt. We got 2 Matt bartenders, and I'm not sure which tab we're drinking on, but we won't. You're not putting any away, are you, Joe?
Putting any what?
Are you drinking yet?
Not yet.
No?
Still pretty early in the morning.
Yeah. So to my left, Joe Gangemi.
Hello.
Who is one of the producers here at Big Pine, as well as an aspiring screenwriter, I just found out. Forgot to I don't know if I told you this, Joe. This is a radio-friendly podcast. As he puts the mic down and runs to the audience. And to Joe's left is Jason Thornton, who I met yesterday. Thanks for joining us, Jason.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome.
Hey, Jason.
Let's start with Joe. Tell me, what's that screenplay you were telling me about outside?
So I have a lot of screenplays in the works. But the one we were talking about outside was one that I started back in high school with some friends called Bloody Sheets. It is a murder, mystery, comedies, farce.
Nice.
Did you complete it? Is it a work in progress? What do you got?
The script was completed, and we started filming. We did probably, 15 different shots from different parts of the movie. But it was back in high school, and people get busy and move on.
Yeah.
And now I just got a handful of scenes of girls masturbating to Ninja Turtles and then getting killed.
There you go.
Thus, the Bloody Sheets.
That's how. Yeah. That's
okay.
The title comes from the opening scene of the movie.
Nice.
Shout out to Miranda. You did great in that scene.
Hey, Joe, give me a little background. Tell folks about you and plug away anything you got. That's website, social media, upcoming shows, that kind of stuff.
So my name is Joe Gangemi. I've been doing stand-up for about 4 years and a couple months. I've been part of the Big Pine Comedy Festival from the beginning because I thought, hey, if I volunteer, they have to put me on. And then they didn't. And then Hillary took over, Hillary Houston, who's great. Hudson. I always fuck that up.
That would maybe explain why you're not getting any stage time.
Yeah.
There you go.
But when she took over the festival, she was like, oh, Joe, next year we got to get you up to help out and be part of the festival. And I was like, yeah, Hillary's totally going to put me on. And then she didn't.
Timestamp that for the bleep. Thanks, Joe. Don't forget Hillary's right-hand man, Jack Gilpin.
Love Jack Gilpin.
Galvin.
No, so this is my first year as a featured performer, and I couldn't be more excited. I love this festival. I love being a part of it, and it's really cool to be able to be a performer.
Yeah, sure.
Joe Gangemi was the first person that we asked to help be a part of the festival with us. Just FYI.
Hillary and Jack, when I first started
Beautiful.
doing stand-up, were the first two people to really give me opportunities and spots. I got to do a metal fest at the Marquee Theater, and it was fantastic. Except for Gene Moore, who I think is in the back right now. He was part of that festival too, and they just hated it. They screamed slurs at him. It was so upsetting. But
Joe's conversation is just going to be one long bleep, I think. Is that?
Did I? So radio friendly means I can't swear. Is that what that means? All right.
And you can't turn your knobs.
But I've just been doing stand-up. I love doing shows. I got some shows coming up, but I can't remember them because I had a room down at my house. I do a podcast with a buddy called Joe's Try Podcast, where every episode we try a different genre of podcasts and kind of do a spoof.
Nice.
So,
what have you done? How long have you been doing the pod?
Very similar, yeah. We're just about to release episode 10 when I get back from the festival, which is our best of episode, which is
Best of at 10. Nice.
it's going to be a bunch of little snippets from shows we didn't actually do.
That's like a Vanilla Ice Greatest Hits album.
Yeah. We started off with a murder podcast where this was so dumb. Sorry, again, my bad.
Filthy comedian.
We did this murder podcast where it was the whole thing is a spoof. So the joke was that the murderer was going to be something ridiculous. So we're like, well, what's ridiculous? Like a Frankenstein. So the murderer was a Frankenstein. Frankenstein is known for throwing a little girl into a lake. So the murder was a little girl gets thrown into a lake, and we have to follow the clues to figure out that it was Frankenstein. And people got so mad. People thought we were trying to make a joke about a little girl's actual murder.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, wait a second. The part about making a body out of other dead body parts, the part where we say it was a Frankenstein, you didn't get that was a joke, but they got really offended. We've done a money podcast. We've done a weather podcast. We did a parenting podcast, even though we don't have kids.
A weather podcast in Phoenix. It's hot.
No, the weather.
Next up,
the weather podcast was good. The weather podcast, I was just breaking down in very studious form, breaking down weather patterns across the world, and then we would cut back to other Joe in the field, and he was at a hot air balloon festival, where all of a sudden this abnormal weather thing breaks out. And there's just hot air balloons falling out of the sky, and he's getting chased by a tornado, and he ends up in a storm shelter with people trying to get in, and he's not letting them. He's just crying about, leave me alone. It's fun. It's good. It's good time.
all right, I am a parent.
Yeah.
I have a 10-year-old son. So give me some of your parenting advice.
So
Because I need it. Trust me. I need it bad. You know, a good.
Mine's 13, so
13. Oh, man. Did she ever get thrown in a lake by Frankenstein?
not yet. Soon.
for the parenting podcast, we had 3-year-olds donated to us for a week. And we both got to
That'll
try
do
out
it.
our different...
That could be the crime podcast as well.
It's similar. We both got to try out our different parenting techniques. Mine was all very high tech. So we had a different criteria of achievements that the kid had to meet by the end of the week, like learning colors and stuff. So my kid had a VR headset that would flash like red and then go red, red, red in its headphones. So that's how my kid learned colors.
Nice, nice. So what advice do you have for me
What advice
as
do I have for
as
you?
a very irresponsible
Yeah.
father?
Actually, in me.
Both of you guys.
Yeah.
I would say that if you put a little CBD oil in the kid's cereal, chill him right the out. Again, my bad.
Works like a charm.
Yeah,
Lucky
yeah.
Charms.
Lucky
Trigger
Charms.
the Lucky
Yes.
Charm.
Jason, tell me a little
Hey.
bit about you. You've got. We were
sir.
chatting last night. We met for the first time yesterday over at Altitudes Bar and Grill, which is one of the home bases for Big Pine 2019.
Yeah, Little Pine. Over
The
there,
Little
yeah.
Pine Open
Yeah,
Mic,
that's
yeah.
right.
And then we got a chance to chat a little bit over at the Orpheum.
The Orpheum. Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about your history, first off.
History. Wow, that's not a subject I was good at in school. Actually, I wasn't good at any subjects. I think I spent more time in the office than I did in class. So I've been.
So you list admin on your resume. That'd be
Yeah, pretty much entrepreneur. You know how that goes. But I've been doing stand up for a little over 8 months now.
Nice.
So this is my first Big Pine. I actually live up here. I'm local in Flagstaff. Moved up here in June, so I love it up here. Everyone's like really nice,
Yeah.
and everyone's been great. Flag laughs and the whole community up here, comedy community, has been really good.
Nice.
So and I kind of hit the ground running with this, and been doing it ever since.
nice.
So, yeah.
Short time, 8 months, but you've
8
already
months.
had some pretty good milestones. You were telling me about a festival you were at recently.
Yeah, I did the Four Corners Comedy Festival in Durango.
Dope.
I actually got I headlined the Saturday show.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's 8 months.
7
yeah.
months. 7 months actually.
7?
I got that. Yeah. So I just I feel like I've accomplished a lot in a little amount of time, and like I said, just kind of hit the ground running with it, and it's something I've always wanted to do. And
Hell yeah.
And I was in the military, and I got out, and I'm like, let's retire and do
What
something
branch?
good. Navy.
Navy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What'd you see? Where were you
I
at?
was stationed in D.C. I was in the Presidential Guard. I got picked out of basic to do that, so I went and did that. I went to high school in Payson down here.
Oh, nice.
And just kind of Arizona's my home, and I love it here. So
From being from the Valley,
Yeah.
just a quick question. What's like the spot to hit up here as far as if you're a comic? Like, what's the best show up in Flag?
I mean, there's several places. There's a museum club. Monday nights, they hold mics over there. Once a month, there's showcases. We have comics coming up from the Valley. Erica Holler actually runs Flag
Yeah.
Laughs with Jack Spetz.
Nice.
And they do that second and fourth Thursday over at Southside.
That's at Southside. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
That's
we were
a
talking
fun
about that as
show.
well.
I came up for that. It's been several months now, about 4 or 5 months. I came up for that just to check it out and ended up doing a set. But what was cool was at a lot of open mics, and you guys know this way better than I do, it's typically filled with a bunch of comics, waiting to get on. There was,
Pretty much.
I want to say...
Most shows, too.
Yeah, but at Southside, and they told me this was kind of the regular for them, There was 10 people signed up, 10 or 12 people signed up. There was like 40 in the audience.
Nice.
So it was a
At
good,
Southside.
Yeah.
That's a full room.
Yeah.
That's standing room
and
only.
it
over there.
was
good stuff.
predominantly audience members, not comics, which was pretty cool. It was a fun room, real good vibe in there. It was nice. Jason, you are just about to or have just launched a podcast as well, right?
Actually, yeah, I don't have a best of yet. I'm only on episode 2, but
That's the perfect time.
getting there. Yeah. So episode 3, best of. I do different things. So my first podcast, I actually picked up a hitchhiker.
Tight.
No, yeah.
And kicked her into a lake.
Right? No, him. No. He was a character for sure. But it was good stuff. I picked him up in Camp Birdie, and we drove up here to Flag and dropped him off. And I literally gave him the shirt off my back, the sweater, my lucky sweater I'd worn up many times at the store and
Wow.
flappers and stuff. And I gave it to. I'm like, it's cold, man. So. Yeah, so I got to meet this guy, and then the next day, my friend texted me. He's like, "Hey, is this the guy who sent a picture?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the guy." He's like, "He just got released from prison." So I'm glad I didn't end up in a million pieces.
And oddly enough, he already has a podcast, and he's up to episode 12.
Now he's in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Right. He's doing the best of right now. So
Now, you mentioned in that story, you've been down to the Comedy Store in L.A.
Yeah,
did the show
actually-
Flappers. Give us a little bit about how you got there after only how many months?
just networking, really.
Yeah.
Just meeting people. After I was doing it for 2 months, and I went over to L.A. I was in the wild.
I've been doing this for 2 months. Let's go hit Hollywood,
No,
baby.
right. Yeah,
You know what you should do? Write a screenplay.
yeah, screenplay. Oh, here we go.
So you get out there after 2 months.
Yeah, so I get out there and I'm in the wild card round of the U.S. Comedy Contest. I got into that. And that's how I met Amanda Cohen, who was on the show last night, and she's good people. So anyway, I met this other. Actually, we met Ron Jeremy was one of the celebrity judges. So we were standing there, and he walked in between us.
Hey,
we're
Joe,
standing there
hit him
talking.
up. Maybe he can be in your movie.
Yeah, there you go. Bloody sheets.
Kill it.
Yeah, no, but yeah. So I met a producer from Flappers, and he invited me to come on a show in April. I got up there, and then it just kind of just been going on from there. I spend 6 to 8 hours a day, pretty much doing what I do.
Nice.
So-
Now, you were telling me last night, and it's obvious the way that you're full blown attacking this new career venture for you. Lifelong comedy fan.
Oh, absolutely. I knew since I was an E-Type
yeah.
to do a grasshopper, this is what I
That's
was
what you
meant
wanted
to
to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, for you, was comedy something you always wanted to do, or was it just the next step after the screenplay?
So the plan was always I like working with other people. So the plan was always to write and get into movies and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But other people are unreliable. So every time every time stuff fell through, I'd be like, "Wow, this is so annoying." So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out and do it on my own. And like
Yeah.
you were saying, I've always loved comedy since I was a kid. And my uncle, when I was real little, he used to give me jokes and make me go out and like tell them to the family and stuff.
That could be dangerous.
My middle name is Bruce, so he used to write Joey Bruce on my shoes, like it was a Lenny Bruce thing. So even though I kind of tried to push away from it, I was being groomed very early on to be obsessed with this whole
Nice.
Yeah, that's
lifestyle.
kind of how it happens. You're one day you're in class, the next day you're never in class. Like I don't think I was ever in class growing up.
Yeah,
Like,
I was-
that's- If the teacher, I know you've heard this before, it's cliche, but if the teacher would have just gave me 5 minutes to be in class, just to like talk,
Yeah.
Dude,
it's like
I had one of my favorite teachers, Miss Roundtree. Love you if you're listening. You're not, but whatever.
Gee, thanks.
she might be.
But she
Nobody's listening.
Well, there's 615 people.
she would give me sets in class where like she would go like, the last 30 minutes of class I don't want to teach.
Yeah.
Joe, you can go up there and
Nice.
just talk to the class for 7 minutes or whatever.
and what grade was this?
I was like a junior in high school.
Nice.
But she would just let me go up and talk to the class. And I didn't have like material, but I would just like talk about
Just
girl
roasting
stuff.
people.
Yeah,
and shit.
yeah.
Doing crowd work.
Yeah. Talk about girls that I was seeing at the time, or roast people was mostly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where a lot of this stuff originates from. Is just talking trash.
Well, you're thinking about this stuff the night before, like what things you. I want to say this to him and her, and then the next day comes, and then
Can't believe
you get your
Brian's
chance
wearing that shirt,
briefly, but then you're gone. So.
Not that Brian. Making fun of people was the way that my family and my friends group showed love. So making fun of people just comes naturally.
Have you gotten over to the Comedy Store in Hollywood?
Yeah, I got to do roast battles there.
Oh,
Nice.
that's right. I saw. Yeah, that's right.
That was one of my milestones that really hit for me. That meant a lot.
How
Very
long ago
cool.
was this?
That was last year.
Did you go down with a group of folks from Phoenix?
No, I just went down with Chris Centeni, who just walked in, and Kevin Elliott. We went out and we hit as many shows as we could, like you were talking about. We did
Nice.
Flappers.
Nice.
But yeah, the roast battles at the store was definitely the highlight. It was insane.
Was that your first trip to the store, or had you been before?
I had been one other time, but it was it was just like wasn't like a big set. I think I got like 7.
Yeah.
But it was before roast battles, so it was like their kind of showcase thing before that. But to be on roast, dude, Hugh Jackman voted for me. Like, I was like, Wolverine thinks I'm funny, bro. Like, it was insane.
Tell me what it was like for you, and I don't know if it had as big a significance or what level significance it was just walking into that building.
I didn't think it was. I don't know how. I didn't think it was going to mean that much because at that time I had kind of gotten more comfortable with clubs and kind of felt like I knew the layout. And then I walked in and it was almost overwhelming. It took me a minute to like kind of calm myself because I was like I started panicking a little bit. Like, oh God, this is for real, and I don't want to bomb.
See, this is good practice
stuff.
for when you're on the Tonight Show.
Exactly. But it's a cool story about that. I'm freaking out. I'm like pacing those little tiny hallways, looking at pictures of people way funnier than me.
All the names.
Yeah, and I'm like, I guess I looked visibly nervous, but all of a sudden Joey Coco Diaz walks up. I've never met him until that day. He just walked up behind me. I didn't even see him, and all of a sudden he put his hand on my shoulder and he's like, hey, relax, young buck, you're going to be fine. You're going to be great. And he just like started like rubbing my shoulders and giving me a pep talk. And immediately you felt like that comic bond that we all kind of share. And it was like, all right, it's a big room, but it's just another room. And these guys are in the same boat. And Joey's got decades on me and he's probably funnier than I'll ever be. But we're all in this together. We're all just out for the same goal.
Yeah,
Jason, tell me about your first in. Yeah.
So my first, I was only in 2 months, and I
wouldn't even walk in.
Was your name on the marquee yet?
It was not. It was not.
Dude,
but I went over there with I was feeling the same way, man.
Take a silver Sharpie and write your name on the wall.
So I'm going up at this place called Sal's in Hollywood to do the wild card comedy contest. Anyway, the night before it was Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday.
Great time for a show, by the way.
But yeah, exactly. So they were doing an open mic in between headliners. It was a set of the night for headliners that night. So you want to talk about? So they were dropping in between the open micers. I went up right after Brody Stevens did.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was just 2 weeks.
I was going to say at that time that was
So being new, being a baby, if you will, like I was just like wow, like it kind of hit me pretty hard. But that was kind of an experience for me, like you're Joey Diaz. It's like when you and then hanging out with everybody there. And you can't be that guy when you're in that environment. You know what I mean? Like all starstruck and stuff. But I'm on the patio. Jeff Ross is here. Chris Porter. They're all around me, and I'm just like just hanging out like I belong. And it's a great feeling.
You talking about Brody was up right before you. Did you get a chance to talk to him at all?
I did not, because I was right by the green room, and so I was just I was just seeing all these. I've been following him for years, so I feel like I know him personally. So it's like,
and then especially through podcasts and things, it's such an intimate conversation for a lot of these guys. I'll tell you, my very first time in that building, growing up, we used to do, for about 10 years, we would do annual trips. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. We do annual trips down to L.A., Magic Mountain and, whatever, Disneyland. And one year we were down there. It was 1980. And, I'm 15 years old, whatever I was back then. And we're doing you got in the van, we're driving through LA. Oh, that's where they filmed that. Oh, that's that. Just kind of. And I wanted a picture of the Comedy Store because as a big comedy fan, I grew up watching, Mike Douglas, Merv Griffin, Tonight Show with my dad after work. Loved comedy, but to me, the best part about comedy wasn't the set they were doing on the stage. It was when they came back and sat down on the couch and had basically why I love podcasts. It's that aspect. So I knew about the store and I knew the wall, the pictures of it and stuff. So I wanted to get a picture, got my camera. And as you guys know, on Sunset, even back then, there's no parking. You can't park. So I tell my dad, I said, I want to get a picture of the front of the store. Little different. The patio wasn't there.
Okay.
And so he pulls up. I'm 80. I was 14. He pulls up, says, "Get out," and leaves. So my family leaves me on Sunset Strip, and it's 2 p.m. So I take my picture. I walk up the little ramp, with the hotel next door. I get a picture that way of the parking lot area, and the door's open, the side door, the back by the hallway.
Yeah.
And there's a beer truck. Guys wheeling in, hand trucks of cases of beer. So I'm looking in. I'm a little kid. I'm walking in. I'm just kind of looking in the door, and I don't know who it was. Could have been a maintenance guy. Could have been a waiter or whatever. He goes, "What are you doing here?" I tell him I got my camera. I said, I'm a big comedy fan. I just wanted a picture. He goes, "Want to come in?" So all I did was go up to where the kitchen entrance is and that hallway with all the pictures. Didn't take a picture of inside. I was just looking at I saw him on TV. Saw him. Don't go back in. I leave. My dad comes by about 20 minutes later, picks me up. 1980, summer of 1980. I don't step foot in the store again until 2015.
Wow.
And I've gotten to know from hitting the clubs and hanging out with you guys and the festivals and doing some pictures at some of the clubs down in Phoenix, gotten to know some of the comics. Steve Simone he has turned into a friend of mine. He's a good guy. We've hung out. He told me, he goes, anytime you're in L.A., hit me up, and I'll bring you in the store. So in 2015, I'm in California doing a job, and I come home through L.A., and I just tell my wife, I'm going to be home a couple days late. So I hit him up, and he goes, I'm on my way over there right now. It's like 7 o'clock on a Saturday. So he meets me. I go find a parking down the road, hoof it on up. I walk up as he's getting dropped off from an Uber. We walk into the patio, introduces me to Brody. Had filmed his CISO special the night before in the main room, and now they're doing B-roll stuff, walking around. So, have you seen that Brody documentary on Amazon?
I've seen all of them.
Yeah. Look in the first 20 seconds. They're doing all these cutaways, of him walking through, and while the credits are rolling, they get a shot of him and Simone waving, and then he's walking into the patio, and you see this big melon right there staring at him coming in. So it was really cool. So.
Put that on your IMDb?
Yeah, it is.
Well, why is it?
I screenshot it. It was my profile picture, by the way. So later that night, first thing he did, he goes, "Hey, let's go in the back. I'm going to show you the back bar." So we go through the kitchen to the comics only bar.
Yeah.
We walk in. Chris D'Elia's sitting there. Red Band is sitting there, and then Lucas Hurrow. You guys know Luke?
I don't
Lucas?
know Luke.
No.
Paid regular as of last year.
Nice.
Hilarious guy. He's working the bar. So Steve takes me back there. We're sitting at the bar, kind of like this, get a drink, talking to Lucas. Good guy, real nice guy. And as we're talking, I'm not really paying attention, and then I start looking around to who's walking into this bar. Brody's back there. You name it, they start walking in, and it's getting a little crowded, and I'm looking around, and then I was talking to bartender Lucas, and I look, and Steve's gone. And I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So I kind of sneak out, and when I'm going out, he went to the restroom. I'm there the rest of the night. And then Don Barris goes up for his late night show, and we go into the OR, and Steve tells the door guy. He says, hey, he's with me. We're just going to sit in the back in that comics only row. So I'm now in the comic only bar.
I got kicked out of that.
Comic only row. And I sit down and I'm watching the show. Then Steve goes up. This is before Barris, so we're back there. Steve goes up, does his set. Burr goes up in the main room, so I float over and I'm watching Burr do his set in the main room, and I'm like leaning in the hallway by the bathrooms, and I'm just fixated on Burr on stage. Somebody taps me on the shoulder and he goes, "Isn't this the greatest spot in the world?" And I turn around, it's Jay Larson,
Nice.
Crab Feast, and I look and he goes, "I gotta go. Hey, speaking of comics." Jack Jr., you are now. We got 216 people in the audience now. Jack Jr. just came in. So I'm hanging out there. Then Steve takes off and he tells the guys, "Yeah, he can hang out here. He's with me." When Barris is doing his show, I'm sitting there and I look to one side, and Tom
Segura?
No,
Rhodes?
it's Tom Rhodes on one
nice.
side, Brody on the other.
Nice.
And during Barris's show, Brody gets up and he's just talking. He goes, "Hey, you having fun? You Steve take off?" He's talking to me like I'm not some schmuck, which I'm a schmuck.
You are.
That night, Brody leaves and comes back in with this drunk who can barely stand up. Walks him to the front row in the OR. And then the drunk, who I don't recognize, is just not making a connection, starts John with Barris, and then walks up on stage. And now it's escaping me. I wish I knew. Bobcat did the documentary on him. He just passed last year. Who was that, Jack?
Bobcat did a documentary?
Documentary on this comic out of Boston who was molested. Just died last year.
Boston's got a lot of priests.
Yeah, last year, year before. It's escaping me now. It was him. And so I'm sitting there going, "This is."
I thought you were going to say Stanhope.
No. I saw Stanhope here a couple years ago at the Green Room.
When you were talking about Burr, is it last year at the All Things Comedy Festival?
Yeah.
I was helping run some podcasts for him. And they're doing this podcast, and Burr walks in. He's sitting on the couch in the back of the room. It's kind of like how this setup is. And the guys that are doing the podcast are like, "Hey, Bill, do you want to jump on my podcast?" He's like, "Shut the up. Get the out of here." And just shut him down. It was the funniest thing. And then Stanhope was running around that whole time. Was just like a madman.
Was that was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, maybe it was.
Was that when he
peed on Ari? Yeah.
on Ari?
He's running around like a madman the whole time with like this crazy crackhead lady and this old drunk guy. But he's like, "They're my friends," and they're just being wild. He keeps jumping into people's stuff and like interrupting their podcasts or their sets or whatever. And then at one point, Ari is doing his podcast, and Stanhope comes in smoking a cigarette into like this office building.
It's a storefront.
And I'm like, they're telling me because I'm supposed to be producing it. They're like, "Hey, you can't smoke in here." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, you tell
I'm
him.
not telling him. So anyways, he's walking around this place smoking. And while Ari is doing his podcast, walks up behind him, pulls out his dick, and just starts peeing on his shoulder. And it takes him like a minute to realize what's happening. He just kind of goes like, "Oh, there's water on my arm." And he turns around and looks, and it's Doug's dick. And he lost it.
I was shooting
so
that
funny.
festival. I got to shoot the last two over there for ATC. And it was a lot of fun, man. Again, getting to hang out with these guys.
Yeah,
and,
it's incredible.
And
It's-
spent some time with Brody last October when they were doing
awesome.
it.
I
yeah.
would have loved to meet him. Like,
Brody's-
I was so, I was so that night.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and Kirk, and I didn't even realize that him and Kirk Fox, are pretty close. And
I didn't know how
he
tall
came-
that dude was.
Yes,
Fox.
he came and sat down next to me, and I'm pretty tall, like up here. I'm kind of this way too. But he came and sat down next to me, and I kind of looked over. I'm like, "What the heck?" It was like it was up in that one spot in the belly room where So I was like sitting there, and he sat right next to me, like, "Oh, how's it going?" And I just shook his hand. Again, I didn't want to be that guy, because I was. But I did get kicked out of that story. I got kicked out of that row because
That back row?
2 months in, again, mind you, I'm sitting back there, and this guy's sitting next to me. He's like, "This is for comics only back here." I'm like, "I know." You know, like
I'm a comic. I've done 8 open mics.
I'm good. So then he went and got security. Security came over. He's like, "You got to get out of here." I'm like, "Yes, sir." Like,
I'm Brian Posehn.
It brought me back down. Brought me back down to where I was supposed to be at that time. But other colleagues of mine weren't so lucky. They went and killed Tony and. Yeah, got the floor wiped, but
you did it?
No, not me personally, but some other folks. I won't mention their names. But
now, what shows did you do when you were there?
Well, I went on an open. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and it was an open mic, and again, it was a headliner set of the night, and so I think Frankie Castillo opened the show, and then Don Barris, he was at the end, and he's the one who presented the. But I mean, they were coming in and going up all night. It was incredible.
Do you do roast battles?
I haven't done a roast battle, but I did. I don't know if you know Joe Urell. He just headlined a show over there, and he's been on roast battle several. He was on the Comedy Central one over there, whatever. But so I had a show with him at Flappers recently, and
nice.
He has cerebral palsy, so he's in a chair. And
I think I've seen him battle.
Yes,
There was a very funny Professor X joke made about him.
They call him the Scottish whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, me and Bubba actually Macomb, we went and picked him up
The Hella
in
Tired
Huntington
podcast.
Beach. Yeah, Hella Tired. Shout out. So we picked him up. We're headed over to the show. I knocked myself out at his house. He lives in a ground floor apartment.
Yeah.
And I walked out the front door. Poof, and I hit the staircase outside, and I fell to the ground.
Oh my God!
And they didn't see it happen because they were looking the other way. Anyway, Bubba had to end up driving because I knocked myself out. I had this huge knot on my head, and we were doing a show in the Yoo-Hoo room that night. It was the second time I was booked there.
Yeah.
We're All Damaged, this show that my friend Richard Older produces. And
We're All Damaged. Is that the name of the show?
Yeah, it's called We're All Damaged.
You smacked your head just for the
and
show.
So they're like, "What happened to your head?" And I said I hit my head on the stairs at Joe's house, and they're like, "Joe has stairs." So that's that story. And then, but I went up on Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm like, "The Rams, right?" That wasn't it.
If I cared about that, I would.
I said I didn't think they're still a team.
How'd your roast battle go there?
My roast battle there was amazing. I had such a fun time. I split the vote. I was very close to winning, but I didn't end up getting through. Brett Erickson, who's hilarious and a really good dude, he brought me back to that secret bar and kind of talked with me for a long time about, because he's been doing this a lot longer than I have.
Me and Rob maybe hung out with him in Bisbee one night.
He's great. I love him. But he was the one that I battled, and I got Hugh Jackman's vote. I got Jeff Ross's vote. But
From the master himself.
Yeah,
nice.
But I got one screw up in there. When they first brought me up, they're like, "So, Joe, you're from Arizona." I'm like, "Yeah, I've won snap battles in Arizona 3 times." And they're like, "Oh, he did a thing in Arizona."
Starting off on the right foot
Yeah,
there.
and then immediately the whole room just was like, "Oh, this
Here
we go.
suck." Yeah, this guy-
Don't even try and sit in the back row.
Yeah. But I love that. But your story about knocking yourself out reminded me of a different Comedy Store story that I love. So real quick, I want to get this out. The first time I go to the store, I'm with my buddy Kevin Elliott.
Yep.
And he takes me out there because he's got a bunch of connections out there. He's like, "We'll get on a show." So I'm like, "All right, awesome." So we go. We have to do a show at the Comedy Store, but before that, we have another show at this like weed speakeasy. It's like behind
There's a
this
secret door knock kind of go behind.
you go into a building or business. It's not a smoke shop, but it was like fragrances and like lavenders and stuff. And then there's this door at the back of the place. You open it, and there's like a bar with just dab rigs and joints and people selling shatter and all kinds of stuff.
My kind of place.
Yeah, so we go.
I didn't understand half of the things he named.
We go to do this weed speakeasy show, and we're back there, and they paid us in weed and stuff. And so I'm having a grand old time. But Kevin didn't at the time smoke anything. He had never even like sampled or tried out or whatever. So we're in this room, and people are just smoking everywhere, and the whole room is just one big cloud.
Yeah.
And it's also an awful show.
You're not getting out of there alive.
You tell your joke, and then like a minute later, you hear like 3 people go, awful show.
That's like every show I do. What do you
But anyways, we go to the show, and it's all cloudy and whatever. We get done. We go to the store. We're at the store for like 15 minutes, and Kevin starts freaking out. He's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I can't breathe. My chest is tight. Oh, I'm freaking out. I'm like sweating. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm like, dude, we have like a show at the store. This is like a really big opportunity. Like, what are you doing? He's like, I can't do this. Like, I'm freaking out. So he takes my truck and he drives back to the hotel. I do the show. I do really well. Another comic that was there that I made friends with drops me back off at the hotel. Get to the hotel, like, kick open the hotel door. I'm like, bro, it's the best time ever. It was so amazing. Kevin is passed out on the bed, half off the bed, with his pants around his ankles and a half-eaten pizza box just open next to him on the bed.
Also, like most shows I do.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I figured out what happened to you last night. So
The
funny.
contact.
Yeah.
I like it.
We hotboxed him out of a set at the Comedy Store.
Nice. That is funny. That is funny.
Oh man.
Writing for roast battles and snap battles.
How do you prepare for that?
Because I've seen you do it. You did here last.
Yeah.
Were you against Rob or
No, I was against Matt Micheletti. Took him down. What's up, Matt?
Because Joe
Centennial actually was in the other room. He was up against Rob.
Joe's like the nicest guy ever,
I try to be.
and then you're vicious.
He's like,
Again, we talked about it earlier.
Finish him.
It's my way of showing love. That's how my family did it like that. My friends do it like that. So I honestly have a harder time writing for people that I don't know or don't like because it does feel bad. It feels mean to be like,
I don't.
roast the ones you love.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
that the same?
Some people, like yourself, Rob, incredible on that.
Yeah.
I've seen Enders.
I've beaten Rob.
I gotta check that
What's
out.
up, Rob?
Ooh, you did something in Arizona. But you have a knack for it, and you can just do it. And there's others, like there's no way I could ever participate in anything like that. Because one, I don't have the disposition to take it. I just couldn't. I would be crying. No, I would be bawling, man. I'd be just blubbering in the corner. Stop it. Stop. It's too much like my weekends with my Uncle Wally. No, it's just, I couldn't do it. And even if in jest, like if I have a hard time really insulting people just joking around. I just don't do it. I get insecurity, I guess. I want to be liked. I don't want people mad at me. Yeah. I couldn't do it. I don't know how.
See, I actually find it easier to write roast jokes than to write regular jokes because same with like theme shows are usually a lot easier to write for me because it gives you like a destination. So like for roast jokes, it's like, all right, here's a list of targets that I want to hit, and then just write to that. Whereas like if you're just writing regular jokes, it's like, I don't know. Chairs, they're weird, right? There's so many avenues to go down that I can get a little lost. But when it's like, all right, I got to make fun of Matt.
You just
all right,
burned my chair
So
joke.
you just
I gotta
there goes that. Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm like, oh, well, you got glasses, and look, his ears are shaped like whatever, and you just write to that
Bullet
stuff.
points.
Yeah, it makes it easier.
Walk
Then you
through the
break it down.
process on that because you don't always know ahead of time who you're going up against to start, and then it changes throughout the shows.
Yeah, but I'm real OCD about stuff, so especially like snap battles, which is the Arizona version of roast battles. It'll be like you could hit one of 16 people, and you don't really know who it's going to be. I'll usually write like 3 pages of jokes for each person.
Man, now what's the most vicious? Andy,
Andy's here.
what's going on?
Right.
Come on up.
Here,
All right.
take my spot for the last 15.
No, real quick before you go, you can jump in. We got. Yeah.
I was trying to get parking here.
Parking is not family friendly here. Or any friendly.
So when you, what's the most vicious you've given on a snap or a roast battle?
I went pretty hard at Amy Blackwell one time because again, it's roasting the ones you love. I love Amy. She's great. But she was talking a lot of trash in the lead up. She really thought she had me, so I just prepared extra hard for her, and I had some ones that I felt a little salty.
That was too far.
Yeah.
Do you ever after delivering it just shake your head and go, I'm sorry?
No.
What's
enjoy
the,
it.
what's the
Hug it
worst
out.
you've gotten?
The worst I've gotten? You know what? You were talking about how you would take it really personal. I don't, especially when they're like on stage and they're roasting you. I almost don't even hear it. It's just
Brush
kind of
it
like,
out.
oh, Joe's white. Oh, his wife cucks him or whatever. I don't know. And he's just kind of like, okay, cool. And then think about the joke that I'm going to tell next. I try not to like dwell.
So you're a very giving
Oh, you said that I
performer,
got man tits. Oh
sharing
my
this
god.
story.
yeah.
Joining us, Andy Steinberg. Hey, how are you?
Good, man. Sorry.
No problem. We had a couple of flip-flops on what time we were going to start anyway, and then Joe, he's a taskmaster. He made us start at 12:30.
No, I was never known about 12:30.
Yeah.
I was a 1:30 guy.
Yeah.
So
Give us, right off the bat, tell us where folks can find you, plug away, website, Twitter.
AndyComedy.com. All my social media is in the upper right-hand corner. I also do a podcast with Aries Spears at Spears and Steinberg, and that's available on all platforms. Or you go to spearsberg.com, and you can find it there. That's it. That's all I got.
I've been
It's fantastic,
catching
by
up.
the way.
Yeah, it is. I've been catching up on some of them on the ride up here, and then last week in prep for the festival here, and you guys don't pull punches, man. And I feel we need to give Andy some love because they do a lot of emails and listener feedback. And Andy, you do not get any love from them listeners, man.
I get some love, but it's less because haters love paper.
Yeah.
And they love to write what they hate about you. And it's a black. I don't want to say it's black centric, but it is. I mean, it's our listeners. Aries Spears is obviously the famous one in this group. So it was a majority of his listeners that came on at first, and. So, it is more, I would say it leans black-centric. And so when I say certain things, it upsets people. But we were, my favorite thing that we did, it just happened recently. We were in, we're driving. We had to go to another date. We had to switch cities, so we're driving. And that's when Popeye's Chicken was this big rage. So we wanted to go try this thing. And there was a 25, 30-minute wait for this Popeye's Chicken sandwich. And we waited. And we were just going to eat the sandwich in the car as we drove to the city. So we're getting driven out, and we're eating our chicken sandwich, and it's good. It's a good Popeye's chicken sandwich. It's the real deal. So we're eating it, and then he starts to do an Instagram video, and he's talking, he's saying some things, and he'd flash on me, and every now and then I wasn't saying anything. I was just chewing, and then finally I go. Yeah, this right here. This is the Black Panther chicken sandwiches, and we got all these messages back that said these angry women was like, who told that cracker he could speak? Put that cracker on the show. This cracker said. So I wrote back to the one who said who said this cracker could speak, and I said this cracker was told he could speak since 1776, and I'm going to keep speaking. So you take the punches, but it's fun because there is a lot of love out there actually for me that we get on other things, but they're not as exciting as the ones that hate me. So we do a lot of those. But I have a great time doing that podcast. And you're right, we don't pull back on anything. I mean, honestly, if I ever really get a career, this podcast will come back and haunt me at some point because we just talk openly about everything.
Kiss that SNL gig goodbye already.
There's no SNL for me. I'm not going to be advertising anything that's like that's soft. Like, I mean, maybe I could do hammers and nails, but I don't think I could advertise for like Coke isn't going to come find me. That's for sure.
Nice. Now your website, the production company or your tag on there.
Insufficient industry credits.
Insufficient
That's
industry.
my LLC. That's who I am.
Tell me about your IMDb page. What do you got on there? It was your card player 3, was it?
I'm card player number 3 in a movie called Green Guys. And it was the first thing I ever got, and I was just starting to do comedy, and I got this part, and I have like 2 lines in the whole thing, and I ad-libbed one, and I thought it was so funny, but they cut that line out anyway. But so I had these 3 lines, and I always say, it wasn't integral to the movie, but I was way better than card player number 4.
You've got one of the most entertaining bios on your website that I've ever read. It's a good one. It's nice.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's fun.
I just couldn't take it seriously because seriously, when people are looking at your bio, they don't know you. That's why they're looking up your bio. Right. So already, I mean, if you're somebody, you don't need a bio. So my bios, I think they're man. You got to see somebody because anything you write is just what we made up or their manager made up or whoever made up. And I'm sure there's really a technical aspect to making up a great bio that's going to get you into the chair in front of somebody that could actually do something for your career. But that's not what my bio's for. My bio is just to say, hey, I was here, and if you thought I was funny, look at my other That's all my bio's
Get
for.
some butts in the seats as you're touring. Now, you have been touring pretty extensive last couple of years in general. But how long have you been doing this?
Comedy itself?
Comedy, yeah.
Well, I started way back, and I did it for about 6 months when I was about 37 years old, I think. And I did it for 6 months, and I was going through a divorce, and I had 2 kids, 2 babies. I mean, they were little.
Yeah.
And I had this business opportunity. So I was looking at, I can remember the day, actually. I can remember standing out on the patio, which was funny because I always like to agitate people in the first place. I was standing on the patio and had to have a meeting with the owner of this company to see what we were going to do. And the patio is completely open to this parking space. And so, and it's almost touchable where my car was parked. And I had my kids in the back seat in their kid chairs, whatever they are. My kids are big now. I don't remember what they're called anymore. They're tie downs, whatever. What are they really called? Baby seats, whatever.
Car seats.
Car seats. And they were in some shit in the back seat, and I had the car locked with the AC on. So I'm watching them. The AC's on, and I had about 5 people just come up and go, "You can't leave your kids in the car." And I can do whatever I want. Call the police. And I was just so I could irritate. I was already in the mode, So I was already in the mode to irritate people. But I remember standing on the patio and I'm listening to this guy, and I'm not even really hearing him because I'm thinking about what I want to do, and I'm looking at my kids, and it was like it wasn't about me. It was probably the first time in my life that it wasn't about me. And I was like, it's about those dudes. And so I just took the job, and I worked really hard. And we, I did all right. I raised my kids, but there was some point about within that 5-6 years, all that fell apart. And I realized that I should, I hate to say that it shouldn't, you can't think just about yourself, but really you have to think about yourself because if you're doing what you want to do and what you love, all the stuff will follow. I mean, there's times when you might have to make a deal over some hours, but not about life. And I thought about what I really wanted to do, and I went back and I started doing comedy, and it took, and I did that for about 5 years in Phoenix with just bar shows and clubs, little but not real
Stand-up
clubs.
Scottsdale, baby.
Yes, but eventually I got worked away into the stand-up live when Joel Bashkoff and Matt Coleman own and run stand-up live.
Yeah.
And when they hit the city, I was able to kind of just elbow my way in, and then that's kind of that momentum has been for like the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And with Aries for the last 2 years. But I like to tell people I open up for other people because if you know Aries, I do in particular. I never wrote anything for Aries. I have none of my jokes are written for Aries or Aries people. They were just things that I had, and Aries liked those jokes, and then I would do more, and he liked those, and he was like, do those. And that was what my set was. But Aries is a little harder, edgy guy, says whatever he wants to. But I also open up for people like Adam Ferreira, which is a family, a lot of women, a way different kind of show. And so I'm proud that and what I always wanted my comedy to do, what I think the greatest comics can do, is they can walk into any room at any time, and they can display who they are in front of those people, and their personality and the way that they talk and the way that they express their views is enough that almost anyone can stay in the room. And that's really what it means. That's really what's important to me, is to have my comedy relate to everybody on all levels and not have to shy away from I can do a clean room if someone says it's a clean room, but it's not my favorite thing. The way I talk on stage is the way I talk in real life, and I don't want to I like that I go up on stage and I represent myself, which has 2 things. It's great when people love you, but if they don't, they actually hate you. So I want to represent who I am when I'm on stage. This is how I talk. So I'm not really I wouldn't really like to do a clean corporate gig. That's not my thing. But I do like it that someone who has kids in the audience can relate to me, whether they're black, whether they're white, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're male, female, whatever the genre is that you are and you're in the seat. If you appreciate comedy and you appreciate how a different perspective on some things that go on in life, that's all I want to be able to hit. And so that's really what this whole thing is unfolded to being.
Now, one of your sons has gone on some tours with you, right?
He doesn't go on the tour. I'll pick him up, and I'll take him anything in California. I usually fly in Arizona.
Yeah.
I grab him, and then we drive out to California. Or, every once in a while he'll fly out with me. But I got to be honest, I'm pretty cheap. And he can't pay for his tickets. Actually, so I don't want to. But I take him on all the drives. We were just in Ontario, California, and it's funny because all the managers from these clubs in California and Arizona, they all know my son, which is pretty cool. And I just did this shirt. I did a new shirt for him, so maybe he can pay for his stuff. I do a joke about him, and a lot of jokes are actually about my son. True is on the autism spectrum, and True really made me human, and it made me be able to relate to people in a different way, which also made my comedy change. And the way that I talk about him. But him. He just graduated from high school and he started college, and so there's this line in this joke where he yells out "declined" really loud, and so I made a decline shirt and I just started selling them, and then $10 from all the shirts go to his college fund because he doesn't drive, so I want to be able to pay for his Ubers and stuff. But now there's enough money in there, and he wants to go to fly out. That kid can buck up and pay him his own shit.
That's awesome.
Now you did recently. My timeline's all screwed. You did a fundraiser for one of his projects too at Stand Up Live.
Yeah, I do it at. I did it Stand Up Live this next year. It was at Stand Up Live. 2 years we did it Stand Up Live. We did one. The very first one we did at Crescent Ballroom a long time ago. Then I think we skipped a year and then Stand Up Live twice. And so we're doing it this year, but we're going to do it at CB Live on February 9th, the same night as the Oscars. Cause
February 9th. And what's that for? Because is it for the school? Or?
It's for my son's school. My son, we tried to. He's high functioning, but he's autistic, but he's high functioning, and. One of the things they said was like maybe let's try to mainstream him. So he went to a public school, and he did really well in his public school for the first 5 years. Because first grade through fifth grade, he was in the same school. They knew him. They kind of raised him, and he raised their awareness of what autism was, or what a high functioning autistic kid could do in their classes. But when he graduated and he was going to go to junior high, they had no idea who he was. And the classrooms were much bigger. And, they didn't know him. So when he liked to sit, a lot of autistic kids do something called perching, which is where they sit like a catcher in baseball, but they do it on their chair. And so teachers see that right away, and they're like, you can't sit on your feet. Sit down on the chair, sit down right. He needs to wear headphones because if it gets too loud, he can't focus. And also, he has auditory issues where if it gets too loud, he can't function. And I found him one day. He dove underneath the desk and he's just crying in class. And he just has his hands over his ears crying. And I'm like, nah, that's it. We're done with this. We're done with this school. And so we went looking for schools. And although there are a lot of schools that have kids that with special needs, autism wasn't something that we found a lot of schools could really, really handle. And we found this one school. It's called Gateway Academy. It's in Phoenix. And it changed my son's life. And I'm not going to even say that this is the best school for kids with autism. It was the best school for my kid with autism. And I really appreciate the school. It changed my son's life. And so every year I try to get a good comic to come in and headline the show, and I open it if I can. I was on the road last year and I couldn't. So my son, he did 5 minutes, and he killed the room. It was great.
Nice.
And he loves to do comedy, and he loves the attention, and he loves applause. So it worked out really well.
I got a chance to meet him real briefly in the green room over at Stand Up Live one night. I can't remember who you were on with, but it was one of the nights I popped in to see you. Neat cause. What again? Is there a website or anything for that?
If you go to Gateway Academy, I think it's gatewayacademy.gov. It's not the regular ones. It's Gateway. I'm pretty sure it's .gov. They're a 501c nonprofit school, so you can. They have the website, and you can find out any information about them.
Gotcha.
If you have extra money at the tax year that you have to donate to a school, because they're nonprofits, you can actually donate your tax dollars to them and take that tax credit. But school's great, did great for my son, and I always wanted to pay back because I love being a father. But I got to be honest, I don't know how many people have autistic kids. I am fortunate that my son was high functioning. I know people that have kids that are severe on the spectrum, and it's not easy. And this school really helped me and helped my life change. So that's why I always give back. Try to give back every year. So this year we just secured the date. With the same with Matt Coman and Joel Bashkoff also have that Copper Blues hybrid up in Desert Ridge in Phoenix called CB Live.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, February 9th, that's going to be there. Tickets I don't know when the tickets will go on sale, but we'd love to have people out. I'm trying to get a really special headliner right now, and I'm working on it, but it's up in the air. So, but this year I really want to make a point of being there, so I'm going to be there for my son.
Very nice. Well, we got a full plate of podcasts here at the Green Room in Flagstaff coming up. So I want to thank you guys for sitting in. Sorry,
Thank
Andy,
you.
we had some miscommunication on there. Let's go around real quick. Jason, plug away. Where can people find you? What do you got coming up? Website, Facebook, anything?
Let's see. Catch me on Facebook. No, I'll be at the Comedy Store October 9th. Flappers October 12th. So that's really all I got come up. And
Do you got a performer page on Facebook or just your personal
yeah,
one?
it's just it's both. It's
Okay.
a twofer. So
Jason
yeah,
Thornton, search it.
Yeah.
Big beard.
big beard,
Joe,
big dude. Thank you.
What podcast? Facebook website, whatever you
Joe's
got.
Try Podcast. It's everywhere. You can get podcasts. Spotify is where I like. Facebook. You'll see me around Phoenix. I'll be doing shows. I don't have my schedule in front of me, so I don't remember, but you'll see me.
And Andy, website, everything. What do you got?
It's andycomedy.com. Like I said, all my social media is in the upper right-hand corner. To be really honest, though, I only use Instagram. So if you get through to me through Instagram, I'd appreciate it. Everything else just gets broadcast from Instagram to the other networks. I'm going to be here tonight at 9:30, unless they change the times, which I will probably just go up for 5 minutes at some other set. But I'll be here in at Big Pine, which I really appreciate getting to come out here because it's fun being in your hometown, but not in your town.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But I'll be at Bananas in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. No, Hasbrook Heights. Is it Hasbrook Heights in New Jersey, the 27th and the 28th. And then I join back up with Aries, and we'll be at Levity Live in upstate New York, and West Nyack, New York is where it is. And then Tacoma Comedy Club on the 10th through the 13th of October.
And the podcast is?
Spears and Steinberg, and you can catch that at any podcast platform. But I really tell people this because there's some more information if you want to. We put some other stuff up on our website, so it's spearsburg.com, and you can grab it from up there too.
Nice. And is there a link to Aries' Hotmail account on that website? There is.
Yeah, there is. But he's at ariesspears.com, so that's the easiest way to get all his.
Gotcha.
And you can find all of our when we're together. We're just this for whatever this month. We just did a lot of different gigs. So
Nice.
we're on the road.
Now, I started a feature, and then I forgot to bring it up. I want to close out on it because we do got to get off of here. Let's just go around the room. 2 quick questions for you guys. Start with Jason.
All right.
They're filming a movie about your life. Who plays the lead? What genre?
Oh man, Bloody Sheets. No. Man, that's a good question. Maybe Kevin Hart. No.
So it's a documentary.
Oh, yeah, docudrama. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know.
What genre of film is it? What's it going to be? Is it going to be a drama? Is it
Sci-fi.
gonna be Sci-fi.
Sci-fi. Yeah, because
All right.
I'm out there.
So you're
I'm
going to
in
play
on it.
yourself.
I could play myself. Yeah. All right.
Go.
There you go.
Joe.
Let's do that.
Mine will be a mockumentary starring Jake Gyllenhaal doing like a weird character act.
Andy.
Paul Giamatti, and it would be a comedy drama that goes nowhere.
I want to buy tickets to all 3 of those right now. I used to say that who would play me would be Artie Lang. And then I saw a picture of him recently, and the guy is in great shape. So I got to rethink that. I got to rethink that. Joe Kelly, maybe? I don't know.
He doesn't have a nose, man. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
he doesn't have a nose, but he looks so good, it doesn't even look like
Yeah.
Artie Lang anymore. I was like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
Well, that's our show. I want to thank you guys for sitting in. I want to thank
you.
the great folks at the Green
you for
Room for
having
letting us take up space. Find out information at flagstaffgreenroom.com for them. They got stuff going on here every single night. Music. They got a film here tonight. They got podcasts all day long. So we want to thank you guys for letting us hang out. And, of course, thank the production staff, the organizers, and the directors of Big Pine Comedy Festival for letting me waste your time at Big Pine 2019.
Waste your
Thank
time
you.
at Big Pine.
Thank you, folks, for listening.